But I then immediately remember one of the hardest lessons I've ever learned in my working time, which is I was still living in Barcelona, and my assistant at that time, when I left the company, she said, "Angel, I have to tell you something. Nobody has told you that in the team, but I have to tell you something. I was the manager of a small group of five people maybe." And she goes, she liked me a lot, and I loved my assistant. Like, unfortunately, she then, a few years later, she died of cancer, unfortunately, but she was an amazing human being. And she told me, "Angel, I have to tell you something. Sometimes the way you convey messages come across really aggressively."
Okay.
And that was in the 90s. I'm telling you, that was 1996, probably 97. And I was shocked when she told me, because nobody had made that reality check for me ever. And I will never forget when she told me, because when she told me, I dropped her at her place. It was the last person I dropped. It was like 7 a.m. after one night of partying with all the colleagues and everything. It was very cold, and she told me, "Angel, before I leave you, and I know you're gonna go out, outside the country and everything, I have to tell you, because I want to tell you, because I want you to know that sometimes you are very aggressive the way you convey messages to your team."
Do you think you were? Sorry, Angel, sorry to cut across. Do you think you were?
Absolutely. When she told me, yes, because she gave me details. "Can you give me details, please?" Yeah. And she told me and said, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." When you feel so embarrassed that, but she was the only one that dared to tell me.
But that's really interesting, because like you seem like quite a self-aware person, and a sort of quite like emotionally relatively sort of stable and sort of happy, and you seem a positive guy. At that time, were you less emotionally intelligent, do you think?
No, but I wouldn't say a youngster, but I was in my late 20s. It was my first manager's position. And I loved that job. I loved that group I had, my team. I loved the team, but that's why even if I was pretty self-aware, or very aware of myself, there's always something that you always have blind spots.
Yeah.
That's why I always advise people, if they can have someone that coaches them in their life, if you can have a coach, a personal coach, a life coach, any sort of coach, it's so important, because you will always have blind spots, always.
But do you know what? I had my first job. So I graduated from university at 21. My first job was 21, 22 years old. And I still remember, so that's like sort of 5-6 years after your experience. I remember bosses shouting, thumping the table, throwing things at people. And we're now in 2021, and lots of PC has really dominated culture in the West as well. And that just isn't accepted these days, or it's accepted less than it was. In 2002, it was like, well, he's annoyed. He's annoyed with what you did. Throw a book at you, or whatever, throw some papers at you. I think we have moved on from where the sort of dominant sort of leader or manager can do those types of things. I think we're in that position now. It's almost gone too far the other way, in the sense that people can't express sometimes how they're feeling about people's behavior or conduct. It's difficult to have those conversations with people and be honest with them. So yeah, I remember those early days where people, managers and bosses used to be.
Well, thank you. Thank God I don't remember any manager. I don't remember having any manager like this. But so what this lady told me, my assistant told me, was sometimes you don't use the tone of your voice adequately, and you don't realize, and you are really close to yelling, but you don't realize. And so also what happens is that my mom is a teacher, so I was born inside a home with my mom as a teacher, and she was extremely scrupulous about the use of language.
Right.
So I really learned how to use language, very much. So the thing is, I realized that, let's say when I was mad or I didn't have time to convey something or whatever, I had to take like a shortcut. I wouldn't use so many nice words. So everybody was used to Angel being so polite, so commensurate, so using always the nice, kind words, that when I was not using them, then it was immediately like a big, massive gap. This is not our Angel. What happened to Angel, right? So no, she never told me I was disrespectful, but I was aggressive.
Right.
So I never crossed the boundaries of the being disrespectful, which obviously, immediately when she told me this, I remember I asked her for clarification, but also I said, I'm so sorry. I wish I had known before.
Yeah.
Because I would have been more mindful about this. But to your point, also something that happens after what you said is, I think that we have gone from one extreme to the other. Obviously, I don't approve of any boss like hitting tables, throwing objects, or yelling, or blah blah blah. Obviously, I don't like it, and I don't approve of it, and I wouldn't like to do that myself. But also at the same time, I think that today we have become too how to say this with avoiding people taking this negatively. I think that we are too sensitive